Today on the show, me and Ryah from Filthee Gaming talk about America's favorite pastime, Star Wars. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Michael, Aka Rickshaw, and welcome to Worship and Tribute Nerd. Today we have a special episode. We're talking about Star Wars, and we have with us
Ryah Mason from Filthee Gaming.
Filthee Gaming. Everyone check it out. Check out the Filthee Gaming video we did. But right now we're going to talk about some Star Wars.
Oh, yeah? So which part of Star Wars should we talk about first?
Well, should we... Let's do a quick recap. Do you love Star Wars?
I'm a complete Star Wars fanatic.
Okay.
The only tattoo I have at the moment is Star Wars, and
Okay.
I intend on completing an entire Star Wars sleeve.
Okay.
So that's my excitement right now for Star Wars. I love it.
Cool.
If it's dedication to put it on my body in ink, then it's enough.
To you, what is your favorite Star Wars movie?
So, probably Return of the Jedi.
See, I like Return of the Jedi a lot,
everyone
too.
loves Empire Strikes Back, but I'm a Return of the Jedi fan. And I think the reason I'm a Return of the Jedi fan is because I'm a fan of Jedi, and
Right.
obviously in Empire Strikes Back, he wasn't that good of a Jedi at the moment, because But when you see him in,
I just remember like in Empire when Darth Vader's like force throwing things at him. I remember that one scene where he gets hit and he's like,
now I mean, granted, I wasn't excited that they didn't have all super force powers and stuff in those movies, but that's probably my favorite Star Wars. It's what hooked me on Star Wars.
So where do you stand on the prequels?
On the prequels, you're talking about like 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah,
correct?
right.
All right. So if you really want to get into what I think about the prequels, you want to talk about something else? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So there are some good things and some bad things about the prequels. I think that people that completely dismiss them are wrong, because I think that they do have a purpose.
Right.
But I think the purpose was very well directed and very well depicted. Because I'm not one of those regular Star Wars nerds. I've read all the books, so I know Obi-Wan's past, and I know Qui-Gon's past, and I know those things. So I think that the prequels, I'm very disappointed to see the way that they went about it, because I feel like they kind of ruined some of the things that people loved about Star Wars, even though they gave us some of the things that we wanted. For instance, let's just start at the first one. So Qui-Gon is actually meant to be this super badass. Like, he's like right below Yoda in quality, and even Obi-Wan says at one point, you could be on the council if you would just listen to them. Qui-Gon's assumed to be the first gray Jedi. You know what a gray Jedi is, right?
Is that like a light and dark
Yeah,
user?
he kind of sits. He's not a light and dark user. He kind of sits in the middle
Right.
of what he believes. He doesn't believe that the Jedi are correct, but he doesn't believe that the Sith are correct. He kind of goes based on what he thinks is the moral code that he should go by.
Right.
And
So he's human.
yeah, he's human. But Qui-Gon's actually super powerful, and a lot of people underestimate that. And his death was kind of to teach Obi-Wan something, because there's a pretty good thing if you're actually watching it that Qui-Gon probably could have actually won that fight, but he knew it was his time to go. Kind of like when you saw Obi-Wan's time to go when Vader killed him. I think it's the same concept there. It was to teach the person who's following in their footsteps a lesson. I think Qui-Gon's death was on purpose.
Okay. So I know this is not, I haven't even let you finish, but what about Luke? Do you think it was his time to go?
Okay, so we're talking about the current movie, and there's a whole bunch of plot problems there.
Right.
Let's just say that The Last Jedi was a plot mess of messiness that I'm frustrated by. There was some cool stuff.
Yeah.
But talking about the prequels, I think that it did lead us somewhere where we were meant to be. It showed us who Obi-Wan, why he is who he is, and I'm gonna say right now that I hope they do an Obi-Wan movie, and I hope they use Ewan McGregor, because I loved his Obi-Wan. I hated everything about everything except for one scene in the prequels, and people don't understand why I loved it so much, and people don't get it, is when Mace Windu whoops the shit out of Palpatine. And people are like, well, the only reason is because Palpatine... I said, no, you don't understand who Mace is. Like, Mace is the number one sword user in the Jedi Council at that point. And he uses a form called Juyo form, which he developed himself. And the reason that his lightsaber's purple, yes, Samuel L. Jackson complained till he got it. And Lucas found a way around it, because in some of the books, a purple lightsaber was written in. but the purple lightsaber means that he is a dark user as well. That's what purple means. So he can use both sides of the Force. They learn it to combat it. So he beats Palpatine hands down. Like he could have killed Palpatine, but he wanted to arrest him. Just like Yoda realized that if he couldn't beat him without killing him, there was no point.
Right.
So I like Mace. But point being is I think that whole plot line was jacked up and it was messed up. But moving forward, of course, you can't argue with 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6 are what created Star Wars fans. But moving into the new ones, and you're talking about Luke's death and then what I think about it, I think it was an escape for the writers. I think it was a way out for them because they don't understand. The writers that wrote the second one, literally, I feel like they threw up their hands in the air because when we think of a second movie in any trilogy, it's just full of plot twists and misdirects, and this had none of that. It was just a straight like... Oh,
you mean episode 2?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about even in episode 2 or episode 5, both of them were full of plot twists and misdirects. And now we're in episode 8, right? Episode 8's the one you're talking about where Luke dies.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't have any plot twists or misdirects. There's only like one thing that's a plot twist or misdirect. And it's like...
Snoke.
It's not... Yeah, but it's not even a plot direct. It's just...
I mean, I think it's honestly, it's just like it was shutting down theories. You know what I mean? I think that... So we're going to let's talk about fan toxicity. Okay.
Let's talk about fan toxicity.
I think that we've entered a point in time where like our expectations are very high for anything we do.
Right.
And like you can't please anyone.
No.
So sure, like, yeah, there was some problems with Last Jedi, but like as someone who isn't super fanatic about it, like I've always just been like, Star Wars is cool, yeah, I like it, yeah, cool. And so I came out of that movie being like, oh man, like they didn't even tell us who Snoke was. That's so fucking awesome because so many people are going to be mad about that. No. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
I
and stuff like that.
So so speaking of Star Wars toxicity, I understand people that are super toxic. I'm not toxic about it because I waited to actually get my tattoo to make sure that the Jedi Order was survived before I actually got it. Like that was my biggest thing because
there's a fine line. So like I'm guilty of being a toxic fan when it comes to something that I'm closer to, like X-Men. Right. Like I can't I can't get behind those movies. There's just too much stuff that has happened that is just like you fucked it up, you know. So
so let's discuss this a little bit. So the only thing that gave me a little bit of hope for what's happening with 2 and going into 3 of the new series, of course. So we're actually talking about 8 and 9.
Yeah,
is in the first film when Rey is introduced. Lucas basically wasn't allowed to be a part of anything, and in this one he was. So he had some hand in
the newest one.
No, in the one before that.
Last Jedi.
Yeah, he had. I don't think he got a big say so, but I think they asked him some questions, which gave me a little bit of hope, regardless of what is going on scenery wise. I know Mark Hamill didn't like some of the decisions.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this,
and that honestly, I hate that he was vocal about it because like that sets up more fan toxicity.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Mark Hamill was vocal about it with the producer and stuff. He never actually quoted that he didn't like those on his public social media.
Oh, really?
So he was saying, hey, I don't think that fans would like this, but people took it out of context because I'm sorry, but if you're in any movie, let's take any other like big time movie. If I was an X-Men and I'm a huge X-Men fan and you're doing something with my character that I don't like,
you're probably going to say
Deadpool, as we see right here. You know, Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, this is dumb. Like, why did we do this?
Yeah,
like,
he doesn't have a mouth. What?
Yes, this is dumb. I would be toxic too in a way, but I didn't dislike the new Star Wars if I was thinking about it in context of this is the end of the series. They have to come to a conclusion. We're coming to a conclusion and we have to figure it out. Now, moving beyond that, I think there's a bunch of questions that are sparked in people's minds, like why is Luke dead? Why didn't his metal hand fall to the ground when he disappeared? Like that makes no sense. Why did he separate himself from the Force? Because Luke wouldn't do that. Now, if you know anything about Luke, the way that George Lucas intended him to be. Now, let me tell you a little something that most people don't know. In one of the books, Luke is sitting on a planet and he senses a Star Destroyer in hyperspace passing by, and he is frustrated and he rips that bad boy out of hyperspace using the Force. To give you an idea of how powerful he is, Luke is intended to be the strongest Jedi to have ever existed, according to George Lucas.
Right.
So I'm very confused at why Luke, in a time of crisis, would abandon everything and just disappear to the Force. Now, Hamill did quote on his Twitter that this next Star Wars will be the last Star Wars that he ever does. So he is in the next one. We just don't know to what facet.
Right. And when that, and the funny thing is too, is like, I assumed that from even whenever he disappeared.
Yeah.
I was like,
he's gonna be.
I was like,
there.
he's gonna be in the next
Yeah,
one,
he's gonna
and
be in the
everyone's
next
like,
Although-
we're so mad.
My favorite scene out of the the Last Jedi, right?
Right.
Was Yoda laughing when the tree's on fire. This is the best. Because that's typical Yoda.
All right, we're gonna get to some theories, but we're gonna keep talking about the oldness for a second,
Okay,
and just kind of get through, because I was so. How did you feel about episode 2 and 3? Because I actually really liked 2 when I first
Clone Wars?
saw it. Yeah, Clone Wars.
I thought Clone Wars. Okay, so so I thought that the plot line, and if you ever watch the animated series, the plot line fills in so much,
right?
Because the animated series is now canon, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, because that's an excitement about one of the theories coming out that I talked with a buddy of mine, Gordon, about. So Clone Wars had a lot of gaps, like a lot of gaps that needed to be filled, and if you watch the animated series, a lot of those gaps are fixed.
Right.
One of the biggest gaps is R2, like R2D2. Like, why does R2D2 have all this freaking knowledge and all this stuff? And in the animated series, it's filled in. So if you're confused at the Clone Wars or Revenge of the Sith, go watch the animated series, because it will fill in a lot of gaps. But it was very good. It was very well written. Yoda fighting Dooku was fantastic. Like, that was one of the best fight scenes in the Star Wars like cinematic universe is that fight scene. Like, I like the Palpatine fight scene too at the end.
Yeah.
But there's 3 fight scenes that stand out in my mind for the prequels, and that is that Yoda fight scene, the fight scene between Jango and Obi-Wan, which is badass, and the fight scene with Yoda and Palpatine. But the Revenge of the Sith to me was too quick. They didn't give you enough information. Like, I really think that they messed up explaining Anakin's fall, because it was very quick. It was literally a 20-minute...
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
So Daenerys.
Yeah,
Anakin,
that's exactly same concept.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we need to wrap up like 400 pages of book in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's just do this right here.
And I'm sure that, like, in both scenarios, well, I mean, obviously in the Star Wars scenario, we knew where it was going.
Right, exactly.
And then, with Game of Thrones also, I'm sure that
a lot of people knew where it was going.
Especially George R.R. Martin.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like,
didn't they change this season to not fit what he wrote it out to be?
Well, it's not wrote yet. But there are specific plot points that, like, the writers asked him about, and I'm pretty sure her character arc was one of those very specific things.
That makes sense.
Know what I mean?
But it wasn't, the development wasn't there,
right?
Because if you actually look at it, Anakin needs a lot more time to fall, and the Clone Wars animated series fills in that too. Really? Yeah, because he starts doing things that are on the cusp of not being good, but not being bad. Like, if I kill this person, they can no longer commit evil acts. But should a Jedi actually kill this person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, is that your choice?
Yeah. So the Clone Wars, I feel like the animated series, the Clone Wars, was a little bit of a fix for the... So if you watch all of those and you hate 1, 2, and 3, you're probably not going to enjoy those. But if you are okay with those and you watch the Clone Wars, it's great.
And with the prequels too, it always reminded me, it was like, people are mad that they never explained Snoke, but then they're only mad because we're spoiled with the prequels. Because when we first met Palpatine, we didn't know who the fuck he was. He was just a guy on a chair, like, kill them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no one ever bitched when he died. Like, who was he?
So let me tell you something really cool that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
Palpatine's rise to power is actually his master was in charge the entire time, all up until he took over the Senate. When he gained control over Senate, from the backstory, as Palpatine killed his master in his sleep.
And that's part of
in that moment when he took over, that's when he killed him.
And that's part of the Sith rule.
Legacy is
right?
the legacy of 2.
Yeah.
The rule of 2 means that
when you ascend, you're killing your master.
yes,
right? Yeah.
And then Vader was his subordinate, but there was a problem with that. He knew Vader could never kill him, but his master, which is Plagueis, a little bit of backstory here. Sidious's master, which is Darth Plagueis, had actually been researching for years how to stay alive forever. Mm-hmm. So the thought is that maybe he figured it out, and Sidious knew how to do that, which obviously feeds into what's going on now. Mm-hmm. Sidious knew how to do that after Plagueis told him, and that's when he killed him.
And that's why he was bragging about it to Anakin.
Yes, because he had just figured it out. Because
right.
in the movie he says Darth Plagueis,
right.
which Darth Plagueis is his master, and he had killed him once he took over.
Mm-hmm.
So looking forward into the spectrum of what's going on, I really do think that we are spoiled with knowing things, mm-hmm. but I think that Star Wars has a really good way of eventually, what has in the past, telling us what happens and why. Mm-hmm. I do think there are some unanswered questions. Like there's some that really piss me off. One,
there will always be.
Yeah, but that's in everything.
As is life.
Yeah, as is life. There's very few things that answer every question we want to know. And I think the thing is if you actually perfect example, I'm only 31, so I wasn't there during the rise of Star Wars. I was at the end where Return of the Jedi was getting, I was a kid.
Yeah.
My mom was there when the first one came out. And my mom's a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
However, she's not mad about all this stuff. She's just excited to see it finish.
Yeah.
I think it's our generation that's mad that we don't get everything that we want.
Well, we're cursed with knowledge. You know what I mean? We have every culmination. Everything we've ever learned is at our fingertips. And we're as a society, what? Why didn't you tell us this? Why didn't you tell us that? I want more.
But I think it's really funny if you go up to someone and you ask them, they're like, oh, why did X-Men end this way? And you go up and well, do you know the comic book? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then you didn't look at anything. Why are you mad? You can't be mad.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you're not going to go research it yourself, I don't know why you can be angry about that.
Right.
So.
Well, I mean, the fan toxicity comes from you thinking you're so close to these things that they should go your way, or
they don't,
and they don't, and there's a time and a place to be mad about that. If you know for a fact they are just disrespecting the source material, I give you full permission to be mad and be a little upset about it. But if all we with the Star Wars movies, each new movie is the newest thing that's happening. So to me, I don't know if there's
So let me. I completely agree with you.
Right.
So let's do it this way, because fan toxicity blows my mind in 3 categories.
Okay.
Star Wars, no one knows where it's supposed to go.
Right.
Okay.
And
Star Trek,
that was my
everyone
point.
knew where it's supposed to go, but J.J. Abrams did a great job at revamping and giving them a different direction that they could go. Mm-hmm. However, I don't think that the storyline was the best. He did say, okay, well, this happens, and that changes everything, right?
Yeah.
Great. X-Men is the epitome of something that you screw up so bad that there's no coming back from it, because you didn't even follow the storyline and give us a possible different storyline.
Right.
If you would have given us a reason for a new storyline to exist, we could have been okay.
Right.
But you basically took the original storyline and said, let's screw it up so bad that we have to go back in time to fix it, instead of just saying that timeline changed because of this.
Well, they even went back and fixed it and then continued to fuck it up. You know what I mean? So it's just
I said, but like I said, Star Wars, we don't know where it's supposed to go. Now, there were books written, but that were condoned by Lucas. He said, yeah, write the books, but it's not canon.
Right.
It's not what is real.
See,
that's
that's the part that's always blown my mind about Star Wars and why everyone is mad, because they're like, what? This is going to happen out of nowhere? And I'm like, well, give it room to change. Give it room to grow. Some of the things, I don't know. I've had this argument a lot, and I'm just and they were like, what about X-Men? It's different.
It is a different story. No, it is a different beast. Like I said, I'm a Star Wars fanatic. You want to ask me how many TIE fighters there are, I could probably tell you. If you want to ask me how many different ships there are, I could probably tell you. The thing about it is I understand that when we got 7, when they came out and they announced 7, I knew that it wasn't going to follow the books. And because the books were written back when Return of the Jedi was released.
Right.
All this stuff. And it's not what their intentions were.
So were you a fan of Force Awakens?
Okay, so I went into it knowing what the books had said and knowing where the books went, and I knew that they weren't going to do that. So that was already disappointment. And I feel like when you walk into a movie ready to be disappointed, you can walk out being optimistic. So I walked into The Force Awakens, and I will tell you right now, so my favorite characters of all time are obviously in the original,
Right,
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
But Rey has grown as one of my favorite characters. Okay. And the reason that I think so is because she is something that we didn't get anywhere else. She's different, completely different. And I love her character. I love the way that they've developed her. Yes, I'm a fan of The Force Awakens, regardless of what all you Star Wars negative people may be. I liked it. I very much liked it. It gave me a new sense of hope, a new hope that Star Wars would be successful. Yeah. It was very nice. And then 2 kind of jacked all that up, just 8 jacked all that up. 8 was good for what it was, but it wasn't what I expected to be a centerpiece of the middle of a trilogy. Because like I said, the middle of trilogies are usually plot twists and changes and things like that. And it kind of felt like it was just mediocre and flatlined.
So I think, like me personally, I liked Last Jedi for one of the main reason, honestly, is because when we got Force Awakens, it was a little familiar. You know, like it was kind of a New Hope in a different kind of light.
Did you know that the guy that wrote A New Hope was invited back to assist with writing the script for it? And
so that makes sense.
It makes sense that he wrote it the same way.
Yeah, we have, someone that lives on a desert planet who eventually becomes like, a hope for the for the Jedi race, and they have to go destroy a Death Star.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. It was kind of the same.
Right.
And someone important died in the process, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Yes.
And then whenever Last Jedi came out, I sat down and I was thinking, like, where does the next one pick up?
Right, because you can't do Empire Strikes Back.
Right. Well, it definitely didn't mirror Empire.
No, it didn't.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, it had its key features that did.
Okay.
So one of the things that mirrored Empire is, remember when they were storming the castle at the end?
Okay, yeah.
They had the ships come out to try to bring down these big bads, just like they had in Empire.
Okay, right.
So I mean, it had its features that mirrored Empire.
Right.
It had the Luke gone away to come back and save the day, which was Rey coming back to save the day. It had the feature of you seeing these people that aren't key characters go do key character things with Finn and what was her name? I can't even remember her name because they were such.
Something with an L, maybe?
Or an M or something like that. Anyways, they were offshoot
Rose.
characters. Rose, that's what it is. Rose. They were offshoot characters. But the kicker with it was it gave you the same feel, but it didn't give you the same build up. And I think that might be because we were so accustomed to what the build up should be. I will say that Luke walking out in an astral projected form was badass. Like, that was just the shit, watching him do that.
See, and everybody was mad about that.
Well, the thing is so I will go watch a Star Wars film when it comes out 4 or 5 times because I like to look for really cool things. Also, I'll tell you about some really cool things so that I don't forget them here in a minute. I think that when you watch, like, if Kylo would have been not as panicked as he was, he would have realized that Luke's holding the lightsaber that he just blew up 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
How, you're not conceptualizing these things.
Right.
Like, but looking at it, I'm okay with what happened. The only thing that worries me is this next one. And the reason that it worries me is if we end it in a note that is poor, it reflects on the entire Star Wars history. It doesn't just reflect on the past 2. Because as a fan of the entire Star Wars thing, if this ends poorly, I'm going to be sad for the entire franchise.
I mean, we honestly, like, even me not being a huge Star Wars fan, like, yeah, sure, I love it. Sure, I'll go opening night, whatever.
Yeah.
But we need an end game. we need a Star Wars end game.
We need a really big finisher that makes us realize that things are okay in the galaxy.
Like, we need a Captain America holding Mjolnir.
Yes, kind of. Yeah. Well, here's the biggest issue with that. So this is called Rise of the Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
And let's start talking about a little bit of fan theories here and theories that I have. And the reason why is because looking at the situation, we're talking about an end game. And I like to look for weird things throughout all the episodes. So I'll go watch it 5 or 6 times. And I know a bunch of you are Mandalorian fans. You know what Mandalorians are, right? Boba Fett was a Mandalorian. Maz's castle that you saw in the first one has a fresh Mandalorian stamp on it. If you look when you're going in the door, it has a fresh Mandalorian sticker or whatever it is on the door, which means the Mandalorian still exists, and we're supposed to be getting a Mandalorian movie or TV show or something like that.
TV show for Disney Plus.
So hopefully it's with the current genre. I think Captain Phasma's a Mandalorian, by the way. I think she's still alive.
I think it would be dumb if she wasn't.
Okay,
honestly,
yeah, I think she's a badass.
She's like badass,
Can
star
I tell you
power.
Something really cool about that?
Yeah.
Do you know that Finn is actually her subordinate? He actually was trained by her, and she's supposed to be one of his elite.
Right.
That's why it's such a big deal when she fights him.
Yeah.
She trained him to be her elite unit.
Yeah.
So.
No, I got that. Like, I don't think a lot of people did, but
no, I
was like,
yes,
especially we were shown that.
Yes, you're shown. So moving forward, we know the Mandalorians exist. Like I said, I look for all these little key pieces that put things together. And like I said, there's a guy I talked to. His name's Gordon, and we look through the fan art. We look through the books that they come out with beforehand that has all the depictions of art, and we look through everything. There's somebody that went back and broke down the language for the helmet that Rey picks up the first time around.
Yeah.
I forget what it said, but there's all sorts of crazy stuff like that. So looking at what's going on, there's been some really confusing things. Why does Rey speak Wookiee?
I don't know.
No, I'm asking an honest question here. Why does Rey speak Wookiee? A couple people put out some points that says that Rey speaks Wookiee because she lives on a planet where they have to be able to talk to everybody. I said, but Wookiees just wouldn't go to a desert planet because they'd be hot. It'd be bad. So my theory originally was that she was raised, either she is related to Kylo or she was raised by Han and Leia. Han's connection with her was too deep. How many times does he offer someone a job? If you remember in A New Hope, he basically said no one can join his crew. And it took a lot for him to get Luke to join his crew. And he asks Rey, join us. Let's just fly off into the galaxy because I got the Millennium Falcon back. Plus, this Millennium Falcon that's supposed to be this ancient ship it's years ago, that's this cargo ship with all these changes that no one knows how to work because multiple people got in that ship and tried to fly it. She instantly knows how to fly it and do weird things with it that no one else can do, and she knows what's wrong with it. She has, all these connections. I think that even though we're told that her parents are nobody, that she has to have some connection to the Skywalker lineage in some form or fashion, or she has to be at least close to the family. So stepping forward into that standpoint, we just found something else out, and I just recently read this. The original Millennium Falcon has a circle dish on it, right? The new one has this square dish on it, correct? In the most recent preview of the trailer, it now has a circle dish back on it. So there's 2 or 3 theories. One is time travel, which would be ridiculous. But J.J. Abrams is known to throw his hands up in the air and say...
Time travel.
Or something else is going on. We're getting a flashback or something to that effect, which I think is completely possible.
Right.
So I think, like I said, I think Rey's connected to that. I think that in the trailer we see Rey with a staff lightsaber, and I called that months ago, like 2 years ago. She's gonna have a staff lightsaber because we saw Darth Maul. He had a staff. Everyone loves the staff lightsaber, and now she's got one. I called it. I said that she would have a yellow one, and it would be a staff. I think that the picture that we get is a Palpatine image, kind of like when Luke saw Vader and it was himself. I think she's going to see herself just like that because I think she's going to have another moment like she had when she was on the planet with Luke, where she sees herself and she has to fight herself because she ran the last time.
Yeah. Well, she's had, even in Force Awakens, she had some images going on that we were like, what's up?
Now, as for speaking of Palpatine being alive, everyone's like, but he's dead. I'm like, did you see him die?
Nah.
No, he just fell.
Yeah.
He just fell.
Yeah, exactly.
He didn't die, so we don't know.
The only person that we were immediately like, that motherfucker dead
was Qui-Gon.
Dooku, man.
Dooku. Qui-Gon, Dooku, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you got
it was hands cut off, head cut off. Well, he's dead. No coming back for him. But I thought that about Darth Maul also, but he came back.
Yeah, he did come back.
Metal legs, dog.
which is canon as well now.
That's true.
So that's canon as well. So we know that that's a thing.
So you don't think this clone theory is like anything about that? Because some people think that there's a. Okay, so I think that the theory that everybody is putting together that's not it being a Force image is like. Palpatine has had clones and that he had raised. One of them got away. That was Rey. And then like he comes back and he has another clone that's Rey, but dark. Which I was like, it's pretty far-fetched. But
it's pretty far-fetched. I think the biggest thing that you're going to see in with Palpatine's hearing Palpatine's laugh makes me think two things. One, if there was a clone, we've already seen what clones do. Mm-hmm. They are all raised like we saw Jango, and they all kind of had the same mindset, but they're not the same person. We saw that.
Right.
So if this Palpatine's the same as the previous Palpatine, it either has to be a Force image or he didn't die. Or he somehow had a clone of his body and went in his own body that was a clone. So, right. I mean, there's all sorts of far-fetched theories out there. I think what we're going to see in this one, we see the Knights of Ren, which I'm super excited to see what they do and what they are. So the theory about the Knights of Ren is that Kylo, when he murdered all of the Jedi, that he took the ones that agreed with him and ran off. Yeah. And he's training them.
So they are ex-Luke trained.
The other theory that Rey was the other child from Han and Leia that Luke trained, and he took her and he hid her away. And Han and Leia divorced because they believed that she was dead. Now, here's my thing. This is my psychological theory. When you see parents that deal with a child that's in bad shape that goes to prison, they usually don't separate. But parents will separate over a death of a child more often than over a mischievous child.
Right.
So I think that their separation was due to the fact that they lost a child, thinking that their child killed their child. So I think Rey's outside of their mind, but I think Han realized it. This is my far-fetched fan theory. Right. So I think Rey is actually that, and I think Kylo knows who she is, and that's why he wants her to be there. If not, then it's Luke's daughter or something. There's some form or fashion where she's connected to Han.
Right.
She has to be. Because he was too close to her. They had the same, all that stuff. I think that Kylo knows who she is. Regardless, they were just junk traders. Yeah. And I think he placed that into her mind. Because we've seen Obi-Wan and everyone else place things into people's minds before. Mm-hmm. So looking at the situation, I think that she is related to the Skywalkers in some form or fashion. And I think stepping forward that Han and Leia kind of realize this. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the only reason she knows Wookiee and she can do the things that she does. I don't think Kylo is savable. However, I think that in this series, they will try to save him. Mm-hmm. Because they've made it very apparent that they're still good in him, according to Leia. Right. And that's why they said that him killing Han was the last straw. But if you watch, Han kills himself. That way he didn't have to do it. Right. He believes he did it, but Han grabs a lightsaber and pulls it into his own chest, kills himself to make sure that Kylo isn't responsible for his death. Mm. Yeah. That's the way that I see it.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, it's
so I like to, if the movie is right, I like to play bingo. Have you ever played Theory Bingo?
Yeah, where you write all your theories down on a bingo pad, and if you get them right.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, we've never played like a pattern, but we just played whoever got the most right or whatever. Right. Yeah. We did it for Endgame, and like this is why I'm saying like you can make up a theory and it could like be pretty far fetched and it could be right. One of the things I wrote for Endgame was I remember seeing like the first preview. It was just like a short preview of like them talking about, that he used the stones again on the other planet Thanos did. Right?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, out loud, I was like, what if he used the stones to make the stones go away? When the Avengers come to get him, the stones are gone. So they kill him right away. Right? I said that out loud. That right? Listen, I said that out loud. And then I wrote down, Thanos lives. And I was like, so I was at the movie. I was like, God damn it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So.
But I think that we have a lot of possibilities with the new Star Wars. I'm not going to say that one thing will happen or the other. There's things that I hope to happen. I hope that Rey is the hero. I hope that even though I don't think it's possible to save Kylo, I hope Kylo lives. I hope that we get to see Luke, Palpatine, Yoda, and all of them again, of course. I hope we get to understand who Rey's parents are. But I think there's some really cool stuff going on in Star Wars that a lot of people don't know. So we have Rogue One. Did you like Rogue One? I thought Rogue One was really good for having no Jedi in it. It was great.
Right.
However, what a lot of people don't realize is that Rogue One, which is the Resistance, is actually led by Ahsoka. Well, she's one of the leaders, and she was actually Anakin's Padawan in the Clone Wars. And since that's canon, it's now canon that she is that. And actually, if you have a chance to go watch Rebels or Clone Wars, you get to learn who Ahsoka is. And Ahsoka's a badass in Rebels, dude. She has 2 white lightsabers and she fights Vader, and she's awesome.
Nice.
But they're actually talking about putting together a new Star Wars series again, and Ahsoka's going to be one of the characters that's displayed. And that's all Gordon. Gordon is obsessed with Ahsoka, so shout out to him because he loves her,
Right.
and he is 100% like convinced that they're going to have to make a movie with her in it because she is awesome. But little known fact that a lot of people didn't see, Rebels, which was the TV series done by Disney. During Rogue One, they call out Commander Hera, which is the leader of the ship in Rogue One, and then you see it during one time when they're doing the assault. So cool little things that people don't see.
Yeah.
So, but I really think that Star Wars is going to give us a little bit of a twist, hopefully. The thing I'm worried about, which I had mentioned to you earlier, you said, save it, was J.J. Abrams is helping write this one, and on social media, at one point, someone had quoted him saying he just threw his hands up in the air and said, screw it, so I'm worried. And the other guy that's helping write this wrote the Justice League and Batman versus Superman. So I'm a little bit stressed about that because those were not good movies. Those were not good movies.
Right.
I liked one thing about the one movie, which was Batman, and that's because I feel like Batman should be exactly what Ben Affleck was, which is the strong, I don't care, we're going to kill people kind of person, which is who he is, kind of. But but like it's hard to be excited when you know so much information and you're walking into a situation and everybody's like, they're already degrading the situation and they're already going down about it. But I like Rey, and I want Rey to succeed.
Rey too.
I think that they did a great job by making Rey the main character in this. Like, that was very intelligent. And I understand that that's partially because the lady that's in charge of Star Wars, she wanted a girl to be the main character, and that's what we've gone with a lot of movies and stuff lately. But I think for Star Wars...
Wasn't that a George Lucas, like, he was going to make the Skywalker version, a girl version, like for his new series originally, right?
So that was discussed. Lucas never got any of that off the ground, so they didn't really know, because obviously Lucas didn't have his say-so in this.
Right.
But I think they went with it because of the era that we're in, where they're trying to make girls more prominent characters, which is, I mean, I'm completely fine with Rey. It's great.
Honestly, that's a whole nother talk. I'm like I can understand tokenizing a character, how it sucks, but also like we live in a world where like everyone needs someone to be their character.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So I'm like all for.
Yeah, I'm for it too.
Like if it's a creative way to do it, then let's do it.
See, that's why, and looking at a different perspective, that's why I also loved X-Men, because you can talk to any X-Men fan. Mike, what's your favorite X-Men?
I mean,
no, pick one.
Okay, I've been on a Cyclops kick lately.
Okay, so you're a Cyclops guy.
Yeah,
mine's Jean Grey.
Okay,
so the thing about it is X-Men has like what, 3 or 4 girls in their main 9, and they have like 5 guys. So you can pick anybody. I think the biggest problem that we've run into with this tokenizing of characters is people are getting mad because they're seeing this or that, and a lot of these stories were written ages ago, and you're not changing what they are.
Right.
Star Wars has its main token female character in the previous one because we all idolize Leia.
Yeah.
Like, I love Leia.
Yeah.
Leia's one of my favorite characters. So I don't think they necessarily had to make Rey the main female character, but I love that they did.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. They did a great job. I like that they give her the mentorship of Leia. I like that they give her the mentorship of Luke, so she gets both halves. But I think that looking at the situation, I think Rey was the perfect choice. Mm-hmm. I think she models the perfect mentality. Right.
And, you know, just to tell you some info, my girlfriend actually has done a lot of studies in showing that when kids read stories that are more diverse, especially when they can relate to that character, it makes them like better at reading. It makes reading more fun for them. It makes, you know what I mean? And it's just like,
for sure.
So I've lately had a problem with everyone being mad about all this whenever it's like a factual for children to need that, and it helps them.
Okay, so on a side topic, I know that this is, so you have all these people that are upset because, and some people get upset. They're like, oh, well, all these heroes are males and all these, heroes need to be females. I agree with some of them need to be females because, however, I agree that some girls want to be princesses. Some want to grow up to be heroes, and we need to show them that that's okay. They can be a hero too. Right. You can be a hero too. Sorry, I'm quoting My Hero Academia. But the point of it is it doesn't bother me at all. I don't mind seeing any of these heroes. And however, I don't know how the storyline's going to be. Right. But female Thor. I want to see that. I want to see it. Yeah. Because the storyline does exist, regardless of what. That never happened. Yes, there is a comic book series where she takes over as Thor. And if I'm not mistaken, isn't it their daughter that takes over after that?
I couldn't tell you that.
I think it is. In the version that they made a TV series about for kids, which is Kid Avengers. It's called Kid Avengers. There's a Kid Captain America. There's a Kid
Young Avengers?
Young Avengers. Okay, that's what it is.
Right.
Well, I think that's their daughter.
Okay. Yeah, I like I said, if it's done creatively, which in the comic, Jane Foster has cancer.
Right.
And then when she wields Mjolnir, she's like full. She's like not sick anymore.
Right.
So like that's already a pretty creative
it's a
outlet,
cool thing.
You know what I mean? So I'm okay with it. I will say that it's stupid to say, like, let's just say they were like, we're casting Cyclops as like a Hispanic guy. Okay, well that's dumb.
No,
I will say that's dumb. Because I want to see the character that I grew up with.
Right. Well, The Last Airbender. Did you ever watch The Last Airbender?
No.
So it's a awesome little animated TV series.
I know what it is. I don't think I ever.
Well, M. Night Shyamalan took care of the live action version, and he cast people completely off of what their ethnicity was. Which was really frustrating. Like, it was like super, super frustrating. There were people that were that should have been like these Eskimo type-esque people that should have been cast for the position, and they didn't cast them for that. There were people that should have been cast like they were from Asia, and they weren't cast like that. And it's very frustrating. I agree with not changing the diversity of what we grew up with. What I disagree with is that we shouldn't have that at all. Like, I do believe that if you're coming out with something that has Star Wars, the new one, we had no knowledge of what was there. Right. We have Rey as the main character, and we have Poe Dameron, which I think is he Indian or Hispanic? I'm not going to quote on that. But anyways, the point is, I don't care about diversity because the whole point is you connect with the characters. And I connect with all the Star Wars characters regardless. Even though I think Finn is the most dumb person in the world. Like, how do you not see something?
He seems like a fully trained dumb person.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
He's a fully trained dumb person. But I still connect with him on a level because he cares enough to try to do something to help. Even though he does the dumb thing, he still cares enough to try to help.
And like, we're about to see Falcon take over the Captain America thing.
I'm so excited about that.
And I'm excited about that too.
Oh man, you have no idea.
I still am reading things where people are like mad about it, and I'm like, you didn't read that when that happened?
Yeah, dude,
in the comic?
No. Well, and like X-23. Yeah. X-23 is our female version of Wolverine, and she is bad, bro. Yeah. She is bad. But it happens. Yeah. People are going to be mad about it. The point is there's nothing to be mad about. Right. The only time that I understand being mad is when they take something that is already completely developed all the way, and then they're just like, we're going to flip it. Right. We're going to flip it to something else.
Right. And I'm like, that's uncalled for.
Why are you doing that? Like, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess.
But anyways, Star Wars, back to Star Wars. We went
back to Star Wars. Yeah, tangent.
I love Rey. I'm hoping that they don't mess this up. I'm hoping that they make it progressive and productive, and I would totally be excited to see it be a grand finale finish.
Yes, I'm excited. I'll be there.
My you know what I mean? My ideal finish would be Rey and Kylo living, Rey being either a brother or a cousin or related to Kylo in some way.
Some
way, but they made it really awkward for that to happen. Considering the fact she was looking at him kind of like hunkishly while he had his shirt off.
Yeah.
Anyways,
he was like, "Whoa,"
and she was like, "Put something on, please." But the point being is I would love to see it in Fantastic. Now there is one disappointment throughout this entire new series that I've been really sad about is R2 has not been prominent, and R2 has been prominent since episode 1.
Right.
You better bring him back.
They needed the plot device to like not have a connection.
Well, they were trying
Luke,
to give us this BB-8, and I'm just like,
right.
Can R2 please come back this next episode? Because I will tell you right now, there's one episode in Clone Wars that if you don't watch anything else, you should go watch because the entire episode is about R2. Mm-hmm. And Mace Windu wants to wipe his memory because he shouldn't know anything. Mm-hmm. And Mace Windu and Anakin get trapped under the ship and they cannot force lift it up no matter how powerful they are. Mm-hmm. And they send R2 for help. And R2 kills like 3 creatures, flies a ship into one, still manages to trick the people that are chasing them and fly a ship into hyperspace and go grab a couple of the Jedi from the Jedi Council. Like, I'm just like, wait, this little guy. So there's this, it's too good. Like, it's a great episode because it teaches you that R2 is not this robot that has no thoughts, no care.
Right.
He is a conscious living being, in my opinion.
Right. And he's wacky.
Yeah, I love him. He's so good. Like when he shocks Yoda a whole bunch of times. This is great.
All right, but we should wrap
this
up.
up. Wrap this Star Wars conversation up. I could talk about Star Wars forever, just like you could talk about X-Men forever. But on a side note, if you guys have any questions about Star Wars, feel free to hit me up over at Filthee Gaming, or you can just ask on Mike's channel, and I'll hop down there and try to answer whatever I can. But please do remember to hit that subscribe button for him, because if it's in one of the directions, we had this discussion earlier. But hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Give him some love. Make sure to leave some comments about what you think about the video and argue with me on my theories. So I'm okay with that.
Well, Ryah, thank you for coming on. Thank you for teaching me about the algorithms and all that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate you, my friend.
And we will definitely work together in the future.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm excited. All right, guys.
All right. Later, nerds.